Hi everybody, welcome into the Wolfman gardening channel. Today I want to cover a little bit about the difference between a raised bed and like we have back here an in-ground. Now I do have one raised bed and I've done a few raised beds in the past, and they have their pros and they have their cons, and then we have pros and cons as well with the type of garden that we have in-ground. So let's talk a little bit about each one. We'll start out with the raised bed. One of the things with the raised bed is it has better accessibility. You can build them up to where you don't have to bend over, you don't have to be on your hands and knees, so you can build them at any height you want. So accessibility is a big key factor. You get old like me, maybe your knees aren't as good as they used to be. So maybe it's better if you have a raised bed. Another thing is you get to choose the soil. Back here, I don't get to choose the soil that's in the ground behind me because it's already there, right? So you get to choose whatever, if you want all organic, it doesn't matter what you want or what you have. You get to choose whatever soil type you want to grow in that raised bed. Another thing is raised beds offer better drainage. So like in this area behind me, you're gonna have people walking on it, and compacting that down. For a raised bed, nobody is walking in it, so therefore your soil stays more fluffy, so therefore you have better drainage. Another good thing about a raised bed is weed control. So since you're choosing what soil that you want to put in your raised bed, then you should have less opportunity less opportunity for weeds to grow in your garden. Another thing is pest control. Since you're choosing your soil that you want, there's a lot of pests that live in the soil that's already living in this soil behind me. So if you're choosing your soil, there's less opportunities for there to be in-ground pests already. And you can also have, since it's a smaller area, you can even put bird netting over it. You can put some type of netting to keep some of the frost protection on it if you want to plant a little earlier. And for like those gnats, for all these other pests, you can put some type of cover over the top that keeps the pest from growing. Now you can do that in ground as well, but like I said, it's easier to do on a raised bed. Now let's go over some cons to a raised bed. Because it does have well drainage, and it drains really well, you also have the opposite effect, which means if it's draining really well, then you're going to have to water this soil more often. So it's not going to hold. You can add some vermiculite and some other stuff that naturally help hold some moisture. You can put over the top, you can put some mulch over the top to help reduce some of that. The soil naturally drains quicker, so therefore you're going to have to water more. So therefore you'll have a higher water bill. Another thing about raised beds is this back here didn't cost anything to put in. So therefore you're going to have to buy the material, whether you build it out of wood, whether you build it out of metal. It's going to cost you more to build it and to fabricate it. And also you're going to have to buy the soil to put in these raised beds. And sometimes if you buy it by the bags or by the pallet, it can be rather expensive. Now you can order some organic soil from and have it trucked in, say 2 or 3 yards of soil, but still it's going to cost you three to $500 for a load of soil. Some of the pros to starting the in-ground is, if you'll notice behind me, the soil is already there. I didn't have to buy the soil, so therefore it doesn't cost anything. I'm not having to build anything around it, so I'm not putting up, the cost of wood to build it, the cost of soil. The cost is lower. And like I said with the other one, is with a raised bed, if you're having to water more, well, this naturally is going to hold water a little better depending on your soil type. So, but it's going to naturally hold moisture in the ground a little bit better. As far as some of the cons is weed control. With this back here, I mean, you're going to have to control the weeds because you've got all this native grass, all this native stuff around here. It's naturally in the soil already. So therefore, the weed control may be a little bit harder in an in-ground. Another thing about an in-ground, I didn't get to choose what type of soil that I'm going to use. Now I can amend the soil behind me. I can add sand, I can add more, I can add whatever and amend this over a period of time, but still, basically, I still have the same type of soil here that I'm going to have next year, that I'm going to have the year after that, unless I bring in just truckloads of dirt or different type of soil. Another thing about over here is it's less ergonomic. So therefore, I'm constantly getting down on my knees, down on my hands and knees, sitting down, constantly up, down, up, down. So the ergonomic factor on this is definitely a con. With a raised bed, since it has better drainage and this has less drainage, yes, it's going to cost you a little less to water, but you got to look at it too. When you get a big heavy rain, if you don't have the proper drainage, then this back here could hold too much moisture. So a con to this is the fact that it doesn't drain as well. As you can see, there is a difference between raised bed and in-ground, and there's some pros and cons between raised bed and between your in-ground. So it all really depends on what's best for you and your garden style. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, share this video, and think about subscribing to the channel. So we have a lot more videos coming out, and like I said, keep it growing.